The sun was setting over the distant planet of Zarvan, casting a pale orange glow across the bustling market. Ethan, a small human boy of 10, walked cautiously between the stalls, his eyes wide with wonder. Merchants called out in languages he barely understood, selling bright fabrics, strange fruits, and glittering trinkets. It was a world so different from the human colonies he had known, yet he felt drawn to its energy, its life, and the strange creatures that moved among the crowd. His father, a trader who had spent years negotiating with alien communities, kept a careful eye on him. "Stay close, Ethan," he said, his voice a low rumble. "The market is crowded. Don't wander off." But Ethan's attention was elsewhere. A small figure crouched beside a stall caught his eye. She was an alien girl, no older than he was, with soft lavender skin that shimmered faintly in the dying light. Her large, dark eyes followed every movement around her with sharp intelligence, yet there was something fragile in the way she moved, almost as if she were hiding from the world. Curiosity outweighed caution, and Ethan approached her slowly. "Hi," he said softly. The girl looked up quickly, startled. "Who are you?" she whispered, her voice barely audible above the market noise. "I'm Ethan," he replied. "I haven't seen you here before." "Are you lost?" She shook her head, though her eyes flickered toward the nearest human guards. I'm Lyra. I help here." Ethan noticed the thin rope tied around her wrist, a sign of control he had seen before among enslaved aliens. His heart ached at the sight. "Help here?" he asked gently. "Do you want to come with me?" Lyra's gaze dropped. "I can't. I have to stay," she murmured. Something inside Ethan stirred, a promise forming in his young heart. He knelt beside her, trying to meet her eyes. "Someday," he said with all the certainty a child could have, "I'll come back. I'll take you away from here, and when we grow up, I promise, I'll marry you." Lyra's eyes widened in shock. For a moment she thought he was joking, or that he didn't understand the danger, but there was something in his gaze, steadfast, unwavering, that made her believe him. You promise?" she asked, a tiny tremor in her voice. "I promise," Ethan said firmly, "no matter what." For the first time in months, Lyra allowed herself a small, hopeful smile. It was brief, fleeting, but it changed something inside her. Perhaps, she thought, there could be someone who saw her as more than a servant. The next few hours passed in a blur. Ethan showed her small wonders from his world, laughing as they chased each other around stalls, discovering the hidden corners of the market where no adults or guards could see them. For a little while, the world outside, the cruel realities of her life, didn't exist. But as night fell, the market emptied, and the reality of their situation returned. A stern voice called Lyra's name, echoing across the empty streets. "Lyra, come here now!" She froze, panic rising. I have to go," she whispered to Ethan. They will punish me if I don't return." Ethan grabbed her hand, holding it tightly. "I'll come for you," he promised again. "I won't forget. No matter where you are, I will find you." Lyra hesitated, then reluctantly pulled away. Tears welled in her eyes, but she nodded. I will wait," she said softly. "I will wait for you too." And with that, she vanished into the shadows, leaving Ethan alone in the empty market, staring at the spot where she had been. The promise lingered in the air, a fragile thread connecting their fates across years and worlds. Years passed, and the boy and girl grew apart. Lyra's life was harsh, shaped by the servitude forced upon her. She learned quickly how to navigate the alien households that employed her, developing skills in negotiation, observation, and strategy. Her body grew strong, her mind sharper with every challenge. Yet in the quiet moments she remembered the boy who had promised her freedom and a life together. That promise was a small flame that kept her hope alive in a world that had tried to extinguish it. Meanwhile, Ethan's life followed a different path. He trained as a pilot in the human colonies, exploring new planets and learning about the vastness of the galaxy. Though surrounded by the wonders of space, he never forgot the lavender-eyed girl from Zarvan. Every mission, every new star system reminded him of the promise he had made. He studied maps of alien territories, hoping to one day return to the market where he had met her, to keep his word. Then, the day came when destiny aligned with their childhood promise. Ethan was assigned to a mission near Zarvan, tasked with negotiating trade agreements with the planet's governing council. As his ship descended through the planet's thick atmosphere, a sense of anticipation pulsed through him. He walked among the alien crowds once again, his eyes scanning every face, every figure that moved in the distance. And then, among a group of traders and officials, he saw her. Lyra had returned, older now, her once small frame replaced by the poise and confidence of a young woman. Her lavender skin glowed under the artificial lights of the market plaza, and her dark eyes met his across the distance. Recognition sparked instantly, unbroken by the years apart. Ethan's heart leaped. She had returned not as a servant, not as someone trapped in a world of oppression, but as someone strong and determined. He pushed through the crowd, reaching her side as quickly as he could. "Lyra," he said, his voice shaking with emotion. She turned, and the memory of the promise, the one they had made as children, flooded back. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice carrying the weight of years apart. You remembered." "I never forgot," he replied. "I promised. And I always keep my promises." For a moment, the world around them seemed to vanish. The noise of the market, the alien merchants, the traders, it all faded. Only the two of them remained, bound by a childhood vow that had survived the cruelty of time and circumstance. Lyra smiled, a genuine smile that spoke of hope, courage, and a future not yet written. "I waited for you," she said simply. "And I will never leave you," Ethan replied. As they stood there, the stars began to shine over Zarvan, a reminder that the galaxy was vast and full of challenges, but together they could face anything. The promise had endured, and now, their journey, one of freedom, discovery, and perhaps even love, was about to begin. The market around them continued its bustle, alien voices calling, lights flickering, and the scent of distant spices filling the air. But for Ethan and Lyra, a new chapter had begun, a chapter where a boy's promise and a girl's patience could shape their destinies, no longer bound by chains but free to explore the universe together. They did not know what obstacles awaited them, nor the dangers hidden within Zarvan's political corridors, or the challenges that lay beyond its atmosphere. But they knew one thing: they had each other. And for two people who had grown apart yet remained connected by a promise, that was enough to ignite hope in the darkest corners of the galaxy. And so, with hearts steadfast and minds determined, Ethan and Lyra stepped forward, ready to face whatever the stars had in store for them side by side, bound by the unbroken vow of a human boy and the alien girl who had returned. The air on Zarvan was tense, filled with the hum of hovering ships and the chatter of officials. Ethan and Lyra walked side by side through the crowded plaza, their eyes alert for anything unusual. Even though Lyra now moved with the confidence of someone respected among alien elites, they both knew that danger could appear anywhere. The childhood promise that had brought them together now carried new weight, the promise of freedom and justice, not just a simple vow between two children. "I never imagined you would return like this," Ethan said softly, glancing at her. You're stronger than I thought." Lyra smiled, though there was a seriousness in her expression. "I had to survive. I learned how to navigate this world while you were away, and I never forgot our promise. But now, it's more than a promise. It's a chance to change things for others like me." Ethan nodded. "Then we do it together." Their first challenge was to enter the council's main chambers where the leaders of Zarvan's districts held power. Lyra knew the protocols and rules, moving among the alien officials with a mixture of grace and authority. Ethan, despite being human, followed her lead, careful not to draw attention but ready to intervene if necessary. They reached a high balcony overlooking the council chamber. From there, they could see the governors, some human traders, and representatives from alien households. Lyra's sharp eyes picked out the officials responsible for controlling enslaved aliens. "They've been exploiting those who have no voice," she whispered. "We need to act carefully." Ethan's hands tightened on the railing. "Then what's the plan?" "We show them that we are not afraid," Lyra replied. "We prove that even humans, underestimated and overlooked, can make a difference. We also need allies, those who secretly oppose the system." Using her connections, Lyra had quietly reached out to others, alien workers, minor officials, and even a few human traders who believed in justice. She had spent months building trust, gathering information, and preparing a strategy that combined subtle influence with bold action. Ethan would be the symbol of human resolve, a reminder that humans could stand against oppression without fear. The moment to act came during a council session. Lyra stepped forward, presenting herself not as a former servant, but as a capable representative of those whose voices had been silenced. Ethan followed, standing beside her. The room fell silent, every eye upon them. "You know me," Lyra began, her voice steady and clear. "I was once a servant, bound by rules I did not choose. But I am not alone. Others suffer in silence every day, and it is time to change that." Some officials whispered among themselves, surprised at her confidence. A few tried to interrupt, but Ethan stepped slightly forward. "We are not here to fight with words," he said, his voice calm but firm. "We are here to show that courage, intelligence, and determination matter more than tradition and fear. Freedom is not just a privilege, it is a right." The tension in the room was palpable. The leaders who had once ruled without challenge now faced a united front. An alien who had endured hardship, and a human who had never wavered in his promise. Slowly, the murmurs grew into acknowledgement, then agreement. Some of the officials, those secretly sympathetic, rose and voiced support for Lyra's plan. With the council's attention secured, Ethan and Lyra revealed the network of evidence Lyra had collected over months. Hidden records showed the exploitation of enslaved aliens, the manipulation of markets, and the secret profits of corrupt officials. The data was undeniable, and the council could not ignore it. "The evidence is clear," Lyra said, her eyes meeting Ethan's for a brief moment of reassurance. "Change is necessary, and those who resist will be held accountable." Ethan stepped forward to conclude their presentation. "And humans will help," he added. "We have technology, knowledge, and experience that can support fairness. We are not here to dominate, but to stand as allies." By the end of the session, the council had agreed to reform laws regarding slavery and servitude. The oppressive system that had bound Lyra and countless others began to crumble, replaced by regulations that ensured freedom and protection. Cheers erupted quietly among the supporters, though the more resistant officials scowled, plotting for future influence. After the council session, Ethan and Lyra walked through the quiet corridors of the council building. The glow from the planet's twin moons filtered through the glass ceiling, bathing the space in soft silver light. "You did it," Ethan said, admiration and pride in his voice. Lyra shook her head. "We did it. You were brave too, Ethan. If you hadn't been here, some officials might have dismissed me entirely. Your presence, it made a difference," he smiled. "I promised you, remember? I keep my promises." For a while they walked in comfortable silence, letting the weight of their achievements sink in. Outside, the city hummed with life, but the oppressive tension that had once shadowed every street was lifting. Aliens who had once been terrified of speaking freely now moved with cautious confidence, inspired by Lyra's courage and Ethan's steadfast support. But their mission was not yet complete. There were still dangers lurking. Those who had lost power and influence would not surrender quietly. Lyra and Ethan knew they had to remain vigilant, ensuring that the new laws were enforced and that no one could exploit others again. They began traveling to key districts, meeting with leaders, and using Lyra's knowledge and Ethan's human ingenuity to strengthen the reforms. As they worked together, their bond deepened. They laughed over small victories, strategized through difficult negotiations, and supported one another when challenges seemed overwhelming. What had started as a promise between two children grew into mutual respect, trust, and a shared sense of purpose. One evening, after a long day of meetings and negotiations, they stood on the balcony of a newly rebuilt council hall, looking out at the city lights sparkling across Zarvan's plains. Ethan turned to Lyra, his voice soft. "We've come a long way," Lyra nodded. "Yes, and yet, I think this is only the beginning. There's so much more we can do, so many lives to improve. But now we are free, and we face the future together." Ethan reached for her hand, holding it gently. "Together," he agreed. In the days that followed, Lyra's influence grew. She became a symbol of hope, courage, and justice for aliens across Zarvan. Her story inspired others to stand up, to speak out, and to believe that even the smallest voice could make a difference. Ethan continued to serve as a bridge between humans and aliens, demonstrating that humans could act with honor, empathy, and bravery. The childhood promise they had made now stood as a testament to their growth, their resilience, and their shared values. They celebrated small victories, freed slaves walking openly through the city, reforms successfully enforced, and communities learning to collaborate peacefully. Yet even amidst triumphs they remained humble, remembering the struggles that had brought them to this point. One quiet night, As they rested in the council hall's observation deck, Ethan asked, "Do you remember the day we promised each other?" Lyra laughed softly, a sound filled with warmth and nostalgia. "How could I forget? You promised me freedom, a life together, and a future I didn't even imagine for myself. And you kept that promise, Ethan. You actually kept it." He smiled, feeling the weight of those years and the fulfillment of their vow. "I never had any doubt. Even when we were apart, I knew I would find you. And now, we can face the universe together." They gazed at the stars, the same stars that had once seemed distant and unreachable, now close enough to touch through exploration and adventure. The galaxy stretched endlessly before them, full of challenges, mysteries, and opportunities, and together they were ready to meet it all, bound not by chains or circumstance but by trust, respect, and the promise that had endured through time. Lyra leaned slightly on Ethan's shoulder, her eyes reflecting the distant planets and shimmering stars. "Whatever comes next," she said quietly, "we face it together." "Always," Ethan replied. And so, the human boy and the alien girl who had promised each other a future not only fulfilled that vow, but also reshaped the lives of many across Zarvan. They were no longer bound by childhood roles, nor by the cruel rules of the past. They had become a force for change, hope, and courage, a reminder that even in a galaxy full of differences, friendship, loyalty, and promise could overcome the harshest realities. The city lights glimmered below, the moons cast silver paths across the plains, and the wind whispered through the towers. Ethan and Lyra stood together, not as a boy and girl from a distant past, but as two individuals who had faced hardship, honored a promise, and forged a future where freedom and hope could shine. The stars above seemed to welcome them, guiding their path forward. For the first time, they truly understood that promises kept, courage shown, and hearts united could change not only their own destinies but the destiny of an entire world. They held on to each other as the night deepened, knowing that whatever trials the galaxy had in store, they would confront them together, strong, unafraid, and bound by a promise that had withstood time, distance, and challenge. And for Ethan and Lyra, that promise was more than words. It was a bond, a mission, and the beginning of a new adventure that would stretch across the stars.